Let me start with a truth most people avoid. I could have been twice as wealthy if I had understood one lesson earlier in life. Not because I lacked talent, but because compounding rewards patience and punishes foolish moves. The older you get, the more every decision echoes. Stay with me to the end because I will share one simple idea that protects anyone over 50 from the financial mistakes that ruin entire retirements. Before we go on, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Nuggets of Wealth. It helps more people hear messages that can change their financial path. I want to speak to you today as someone who has lived through good times and disasters. When you reach 50, you learn that most of your major swings are already behind you. Your career is usually set, your family life has taken its shape, and your appetite for wild risks shrinks. Unless you enjoy the thrill of gambling with your retirement, which is about as wise as tossing your house keys on a roulette table, your focus shifts. At this point in life, you do not need brilliance. You need to avoid disaster. People love to chase the next big thing, Tesla, crypto, whatever sparkly object is trending. But after 50, the real game is survival. I learned this during the Great Depression. I saw men lose everything because they borrowed more than they could repay or trusted the wrong people. The faces change, but the habits repeat every generation. One of the first lessons I ever teach people over 50 is this: play defense. Your 20s and 30s are for learning through risk. Your 50s and beyond are for keeping what you built. When people hit midlife, they often feel behind, so they charge into hot stocks or miracle schemes. Most of the time, they lose faster than they can say retirement. I once knew a man in his 50s with a brilliant mind and a comfortable career. He panicked about falling behind and poured money into dot-com ventures at the top of the craze. A few years later, more than half was gone. If he had placed that money in steady companies instead, the kind that grow slowly but surely, he would have been fine. Sometimes fine is exactly what you need. By the way, if this message is making sense, comment this phrase: I choose durability. And remember to subscribe if you have not already. The real enemy after 50 is not underperformance. It is catastrophe. Losing half your money at 30 is painful. Losing half at 60 can end your independence. You shift from trying to be clever to trying not to be foolish. Avoiding mistakes becomes a full-time job. A good rule is this: if something promises excitement, it is probably the wrong choice at your age. You do not need thrill. You need sleep at night. A quiet investment gives you that. A noisy one takes it away. Envy is another trap. I have seen more people ruined by envy than by any recession. Someone else buys a fancy car or brags about a big win, and suddenly you feel pressure to match them. That is how sensible people turn into reckless gamblers. The truth is simple. Your retirement does not care what someone else earned. Your family does not care. Only your ego cares, and your ego will never pay your bills. Let me share something that has saved me many times. The real game is not beating others. It is not losing yourself. When you stop comparing your progress to someone else's highlight reel, your financial life becomes calmer and more sensible. If you are still with me, write this in the comments. No more envy, and tap subscribe to keep learning with Nuggets of Wealth. Another lesson I learned the hard way is the danger of selling too soon. Many years ago, I bought a company that was better than I realized. I made a small profit and sold it. If I had simply held it, my net worth could have doubled. The mistake was not the purchase, it was my impatience. People often sell winners quickly and cling to losers. You want to do the opposite. When you find a business that will still make money 20 years from now, hold it. Do not let headlines push you around. Elections, wars, inflation, experts shouting predictions. Most of it is noise. Great businesses survive. They reward the ones who stay put. And at 50 or older, this matters even more. One wrong move can shrink your nest egg forever. You do not have the luxury of waiting decades for recovery. That is why I tell people to trust businesses that have stood the test of time and ignore the shiny newcomers that promise the moon. Overconfidence is another silent thief. I have seen men with great careers believe they can outsmart global markets after reading a few articles. They place big bets on currencies or new industries and lose half their savings. The world is too complex for anyone to predict everything. The smartest thing you can say is, "I do not know." That simple sentence protects more wealth than any expert forecast. Focus on what you actually understand. That is what helped me and my partner succeed. We said no far more often than we said yes. You do not need 100 opinions. You need a few good ones and the courage to ignore the rest. If this part hits home, type this in the comments. I stay in my lane. And do not forget to subscribe for more financial wisdom. Another topic that becomes important after 50 is the difference between career thinking and ownership thinking. Many people spend a lifetime chasing titles and approval. The money stops the moment they stop working. That is not wealth. That is a treadmill. Ownership is what builds real freedom. It might be shares of steady companies, rental property, or a small business. The point is this: you want assets that work even when you do not. At 50 and beyond, your energy changes, your time changes, and eventually your health changes. If nothing earns money unless you show up, you are one step away from trouble. I worked with brilliant people early in my life who earned enormous incomes but owned nothing. The moment they retired, their financial life sank. Meanwhile, the quiet people who saved and invested in simple businesses ended up with peace of mind and choices. Another deep lesson I carried from the Great Depression is the danger of debt. Debt turns small problems into disasters. In the 30s, I watched families lose everything because they borrowed more than they could repay. That memory stayed with me forever. When you have no debt, you can survive storms. When you have debt, storms crush you. Drama is another thing I avoid. Not just in business, but in life. Chaos drains energy you should use for thinking clearly and living well. People underestimate how much trouble comes from surrounding yourself with reckless or dishonest people. Choose peace over excitement every time. Now, here is something that surprises people. Getting wealthy after 50 does not require brilliance. It requires endurance. That means keeping things simple. That means preserving capital. That means avoiding the urge to chase fast gains that vanish as quickly as they appear. A steady return of 7% over 15 years can turn an ordinary saver into someone who looks wealthy to everyone else. The world rewards people who stay in the game. Most people lose because they try to sprint when they should be walking steadily. At this stage of life, dignity matters more than showing off. The goal is independence. The goal is knowing you will not have to ask your children for money. You reach that goal by living below your means, avoiding nonsense, and letting compounding do the heavy lifting. Thank you for watching. Today we talked about envy, patience, ownership, avoiding debt, and protecting your nest egg after 50. Remember to like this video, subscribe to Nuggets of Wealth, turn on your notifications, and download the free guide linked below. It is designed to help you build a calm and confident financial life. Stay patient, stay steady, and let time work for you.